Dear brothers and sisters, I welcome you all to hear and see this video message. In this video, I am going to explain what made the Brahmins become vegetarians. Content for this video I given in the description. You can go through and study. Manu makes eating of flesh compulsory. Note the following verse 35. But a man who, being duly engaged to officiate or to dine at a sacred rite, refuses to eat meat, become after death an animal during 21 existence. By this, Manu did not prohibit meat eating is evident enough. This Manu Smriti did not prohibit cow killing can also be proved from the Smriti itself. In the first place, the only reference to cow in the Manu Smriti are to be found in the catalogue of rules which are made applicable by Manu to the Snataka, the Brahmin student scholar. They are set out below. Number 1. A Snataka should not eat food which a cow has smelt. Number 2. A Snataka should not step over a rope to which a golf is tied. Number 3. A Snataka should not urinate in a cow fan. Number 4. A Snataka should not answer call of nature facing a cow. Number 5. A Snataka should not keep his right arm uncovered when he enters a cow pen. Number 6. A Snataka should not interrupt a cow which is sucking her half nor tell anybody of it. Number 7. A Snataka should not ride on the back of the cow. Number 8. A Snataka should not offend the cow. Number 9. A Snataka who is impure must not touch a cow with his hand. From these reference, it will be seen that Manu did not regard the cow as a sacred animal. On the other hand, he regarded it as an impure animal whose touch caused ceremonial pollution. There are verses in Manu which shows that he did not prohibit the eating of beef. In this connection, reference may be made to chapter 3. It says, he, that is Snataka, who is famous for the strict performance of his duties and has received his heritage and the Veda from his father, shall be honored sitting on couch and adorned with a garland with the present of a cow, that the Kani mixture. The question is, why should Manu recommend the gift of a cow to Snataka officially to enable him to perform Madhu Parka, a dish whose essential element in flesh and particularly cow flesh served to 6 types of guests. Number 1. Ritvija or the Brahmin called to perform a sacrifice. Number 2. Acharya, the teacher. Number 3. The bridegroom. Number 4. The king. Number 5. Snatak, the student who has just finished his studies at the Gurukul. And number 6. Any person who is dear to the host. Some add Aditi to this list, except in the case of Ritvija, king and Acharya. Madhuparka is to be afforded to the rest once in a year. To the Ritvija, king and Acharya, it is to be offered each time they come. If that is so, it follows that Manu knew that Brahmins did eat beef and he had no objection to it. The non-Brahmins have evidently undergone a revolution. From being beef eaters to have become non-beef eaters was indeed a revolution. But if the non-Brahmins underwent one revolution, the Brahmins had undergone two. They gave up beef eating, which was one revolution. To have given up beef meat eating altogether and become vegetarianism was another revolution. There was a time when the Brahmins were the greatest beef eaters. Although the non-Brahmins did eat beef, they could not have had it every day. The cow was a costly animal and the non-Brahmins could ill offered to slaughter it just for a food. He only did it on a special occasion when his religious duty or personal interest to propitiate a deity compelled him to do. But the case with the Brahmins was different. He was a priest in a period overridden by ritualism. There was hardly a day on which there was no cow sacrifice to which the Brahmin was not invited by some non-Brahmin. For the Brahmin, every day was a beef stick day. The Brahmins were therefore the greatest beef eaters. The yajna of the Brahmins was nothing but the killing of innocent animals carried on in the name of religion with pomp and ceremony, with an attempt to ensure it is in mystery with a view to conceal their appetite for beef. Some idea of this mystery, pomp and ceremony can be had from the direction contained in the Atriya Brahmana touching the killing of animals in a yajna. Manu gives general permission to eat the flesh of all domestic animals that have teeth in one jaw only. To this rule, Manu makes one exception, namely their camel. In this class of domestic animals, those that have teeth in one jaw only falls not only the camel but also the cow. It is noteworthy that Manu does not make an exception in the case of the cow. This means that Manu had no objection to the eating of the cow's flesh. Manu did not make the killing of the cow an offense. It was strategy which made the Brahmins give up beef eating and start worshipping the cow. The clue to the worship of the cow is to be found in the struggle between Buddhism and Brahminism and the means adopted by Brahminism to establish its supremacy over Buddhism. The strife between Buddhism and Brahminism is a crucial fact in Indian history. Without the realization of this fact, it is impossible to explain some of the features of Hinduism. Unfortunately, students of Indian history have entirely missed the importance of this strife. They knew there was Brahminism, but they seems to be entirely unaware of the struggle for supremacy in which these creeds were entangled, and their struggle, which extended for 400 years, has left some indelible marks on religion, society and politics of India. This is not the place for describing the full story of the struggle. All one can do is to mention a few salient points. Buddhism was at one time the religion of the majority of the people of India. It continued to be the religion of the masses for hundreds of years. It attacked Brahminism on all sides as no religion had done before. Brahminism was on the wane, and if not on the wane, it was certainly on the defense. As a result of spread of Buddhism, the Brahmins had lost all power and prestige at the royal court and among the people. They were smarting under the defeat they had suffered at the hands of Buddhism and were making all possible efforts to regain their power and prestige. Buddhism had made so deep an impression on the minds of the masses and had taken such a hold of them that it was absolutely impossible for the Brahmins to fight the Buddhists except by accepting their ways and means to practicing the Buddhist creed in its extreme form. After the death of Buddha, his followers started setting up the images of the Buddha and building stupas. The Brahmins followed it. They in their turn built temples and installed in them images of Shiva, Vishnu and Ram and Krishna, etc., all with the object of driving away the crowd that was attracted by the image worship of Buddha. That is how temples and images which had no place in Brahminism came into Hinduism. The Buddhists rejected the Brahminic religion, which consisted of yajna and animal sacrifice, particularly of the cow. The objection to the sacrifice of the cow had taken a strong hold of the minds of the masses, especially as they were an agricultural population and the cow was very useful animal. The Brahmins in all probability had come to be hated as the killer of cows in the same way as the guest had come to be hated as Gognaga, the killer of the cow by the householder, because whenever he came a cow had to be killed in his corner. That being the case, the Brahmins could do nothing to improve their position against the Buddhists except by giving up the ajna as a form of worship and the sacrifice of the cow. That's the object of the Brahmins in giving up beef eating, was to snatch away from the Buddhist pictures the supremacy they had acquired is evidenced by the adoption of vegetarianism by Brahmins. Why did the Brahmins become vegetarian? The answer is that without becoming vegetarian, the Brahmins could not have recovered the ground they had lost to the rival, namely Buddhism. In this connection, it must be remembered that there was one aspect in which Brahmanism suffered in public esteem as compared to Buddhism. That was the practice of animal sacrifice, which was the essence of Brahmanism and to which Buddhism was deadly opposed. That in an agricultural population there should be respect for Buddhism and revolution against Brahmanism, which involved slaughter of animals including cows and bullocks, is only natural. What could be the Brahmins to do recover the lost ground? To go one better than the Buddhist bhikshus, not only to give up meat eating but to become vegetarianism, which they did. This was the object of the Brahmins in becoming vegetarians can be proved in various ways. If the Brahmins had acted from conviction that animal sacrifice was bad, all that was necessary for them to do was to give up killing animals for sacrifice. It was unnecessary for them to be vegetarian. That they did go in for vegetarianism makes it obvious that their motive was far reaching, for the Buddhist bhikshus were not vegetarians. This statement might surprise many people owing to the popular belief that the connection between ahimsa and Buddhism was immediate and essential. It is generally believed that Buddhist bhikshus eschewed animal food. This is an error. The fact is that Buddhist bhikshus were permitted to eat three kinds of flesh that were deemed pure. Later on, they were extended to 5 classes. As the Buddhist bhikshus did eat meat, the Brahmins had no reason to give it up. Why then did the Brahmins give up meat eating and become vegetarians? It was because they did not want to put themselves merely on the same footing in the eyes of the public as the Buddhist bhikshus. The giving of a yajna system and abandonment of the sacrifice of the cow could have had only a limited effect. At the most, it would have put the Brahmins on the same footing as the Buddhists. The same would have been the cases if they had followed the rules observed by the Buddhist bhikshus in the matter of meat eating. It could not have given the Brahmins the means of achieving supremacy over the Buddhists, which was their ambition. They wanted to oust the Buddhists from the place of honor and respect which they had acquired in the minds of the masses by their opposition to the killing of the cow for sacrificial purposes. To achieve their purpose, the Brahmins had to adopt the usual tactics of a reckless adventurers. It is to beat extremism with extremism. It is the strategy which all rightists used to overcome the leftists. The only way to beat the Buddhists was to go a step further and be vegetarians. There is another reason that the Brahmins started cow worship, gave up beef eating and became vegetarianism in order to vanquish Buddhism. It is the date when cow killing became a mortal sin. It is well known that cow killing was not made an offense by Asoka. Many people expect him to have come forward to prohibit the killing of the cow. Buddhism was against animal sacrifice in general. It had no particular affection for the cow. Asoka had therefore no particular reason to make a law to save the cow. What is more astonishing is the fact that cow killing was made a Mahapadaka, a mortal sin and a capital offense by the Gupta kings who were champions of Hinduism, which recognized and sanctioned the killing of the cow for sacrificial purpose. We have got the incontrovertible evidence of inscriptions to show that early in the 15th century AD, killing a cow was looked upon as an offense of the deepest turpitude, a turpitude as deep as that involving in murder a Brahmin. We have thus a copperplate inscription dated 465 AD and referring itself to the reign of Sangagupta of the imperial Gupta dynasty. It registers a grant and ends with a verse saying, "Whoever will transgress this grant that has been assigned shall become as guilty as the slayer of a cow, the slayer of the spiritual preceptor, or the slayer of a Brahmin." The question is, why should a Hindu king have come forward to make a law against cow killing, that is to say, against the law of Manu? The answer is that Brahmin had to suspend or abrogate a requirement of their Vedic religion in order to overcome the supremacy of the Bhikshus. If the analysis is correct, then it is obvious that the worship of the cow is the result of struggle between Buddhism and Brahminism. It was a means adopted by the Brahmins to regain their lost position. Yes.